Hey everyone. So we've been digging into purpose with the inner compass. And now we're ready to really make it happen. Actually turn that why into action. But that's where things can get tough.
Yeah, definitely. For a lot of people, and it's interesting because the Inner Compass episode 6 actually puts it perfectly. They say that defining your purpose is kind of like having a compass.
Oh, I like that.
It points the way,
Right.
but you still have to walk the path.
That's such a great way to think about it. It's like that step from knowing to actually doing, where so many of us get stuck. It's like you have this big vision, but then how do you actually get there?
Right, it can feel overwhelming. And, the episode actually shares this story about someone who knows their purpose is all about helping others,
Yeah.
but they're completely lost when it comes to actually doing that.
Oh, yeah, I totally get that. So we've got the compass, we know the direction. What's that next step?
Well, this is where the episode gets really practical. They start talking about something called purpose-driven habits.
Yeah.
And these are basically small actions that you do consistently that align with your bigger goals.
So it's like instead of trying to climb the whole mountain at once, we're building a staircase, step by step.
Exactly. And the episode really emphasizes that consistency is key. Like those small steps actually add up over time. And they even suggest using the SMART framework to create these habits.
SMART goals. Okay, I've heard of those, but I always thought of them for like work projects, not really for personal growth.
Yeah, I hear you. But they can be so powerful for purpose-driven habits, too. Like, think about it this way. If your purpose is to be more creative, a SMART goal could be to spend 15 minutes sketching every morning.
Oh, that makes sense. Specific, measurable, achievable. It breaks it down into something you can actually do.
Exactly. And it keeps you focused.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get distracted or overwhelmed by the big picture.
Right. But those small, consistent actions, they're what actually build momentum.
So we've got our compass, our staircase of habits. What happens when we hit those inevitable roadblocks? Life gets busy. We get discouraged. Oh, that's so real.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens to all of us. And the Inner Compass actually talks about that, too. They talk about these common obstacles, like procrastination, self-doubt, and just feeling like there's not enough time.
Ugh. Yeah, I think I struggle with all of those. So what kind of strategies do they offer for actually dealing with that stuff?
Well, for procrastination, they suggest breaking tasks down into even smaller steps. So instead of saying, write a blog post, it's write one paragraph today.
Okay. Yeah, that totally takes the pressure off. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in trying to do things perfectly that we just end up doing nothing.
Exactly. And then when it comes to that self-doubt, they recommend revisiting your why. Like really reconnect with the reasons behind your purpose.
Yeah.
And that could be a huge motivator.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And for that not enough time feeling, they suggest taking a good hard look at your schedule. Like what can you delegate? What can you say no to?
It's all about making those conscious choices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're serious about turning your purpose into action,
Yeah.
you have to make space for it, even if it's just 15 minutes a day.
So we're taking those small steps, building those habits. How do we keep that motivation going long term?
Ooh, that's where it gets really interesting. The Inner Compass actually shares some pretty cool tips for staying motivated. But I think we should save that for part 2.
Oh, good cliffhanger. All right, well, you've officially piqued my curiosity. Looking forward to diving back in next time.
So we were talking about those purpose-driven habits. Like how do you actually keep that momentum going when things get tough or just when life gets in the way,
Yeah, that's the $1,000,000 question. Like, motivation for me can be so fickle. Some days I'm like all in, and other days I just want to hit snooze.
Oh, totally. And, it's funny, the Inner Compass actually addresses this head on.
Yeah.
They have a whole section on staying motivated. And some of their tips are actually pretty surprising.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One thing they emphasize is celebrating small wins. Because it's so easy to get caught up in what we haven't accomplished yet.
Right. But acknowledging those little victories, it can make a huge difference. I can see that. It's like if you're trying to build a writing habit, don't just focus on finishing the whole novel. Celebrate finishing a chapter or even just a page.
Exactly. And those small wins, they actually release dopamine in our brains, which helps reinforce the habit. And it keeps us motivated to keep going. It's like giving yourself a little reward for your efforts.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. What else did they suggest?
Another powerful tip they shared is to reconnect with the impact of your actions. So ask yourself, how is what you're doing making a difference, even in small ways?
No, I love that. It's so easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when you're just, in the weeds of daily life.
Totally. But if you can remind yourself, why you're doing this, how your actions are contributing to something bigger than yourself, it can be a huge source of motivation.
So we're celebrating small wins, connecting with the impact. Any other like golden nuggets of wisdom from the inner compass?
One more that I think is particularly relevant is finding your tribe, surrounding yourself with people who are aligned with your purpose, who can cheer you on
Yes.
and offer support.
Community is so key. It's like having this team of cheerleaders on the sidelines,
Yeah.
encouraging you to keep going.
Makes such a difference. When you have people who understand your journey, who can empathize with your struggles and celebrate your wins, it makes the whole process so much more enjoyable and sustainable.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Oh, I love that. And this actually ties in perfectly with something we haven't discussed yet. Self-compassion.
Oh, yes. Self-compassion. I think that's absolutely crucial on this journey. Turning purpose into action can be tough. And, we're bound to stumble along the way.
Exactly. And that's where self-compassion comes in. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a good friend.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that we're all works in progress, that we're all doing the best we can with what we have.
And that's okay to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are often our greatest teachers.
So true. It's about silencing that inner critic. That tells us we're not good enough, not doing enough, not moving fast enough.
Yes. Because that inner critic can be incredibly destructive.
Yeah.
It can keep us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and prevent us from taking the actions we need to take to live our purpose.
I think a lot of us struggle with that inner critic. It can be so loud and so persuasive.
Absolutely. And that's why cultivating self-compassion is so important. It's about creating this safe and supportive inner space where we can explore our purpose, take risks, and learn from our mistakes without fear of judgment.
I love that. It's about creating an environment where we can grow and evolve without constantly, beating ourselves up.
And that's really the foundation for turning purpose into action, isn't it? It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and recognizing that we are worthy of love and support even when we stumble.
I couldn't agree more. So we've talked about the importance of small steps, consistent habits, overcoming obstacles, staying motivated, and embracing self-compassion. What else is there to know about turning purpose into action?
You know what's been really resonating with me through all of this? It's not just about what we're doing, but it's also about how we're doing it. Absolutely. It's about approaching this whole journey with intention, with kindness, and with a willingness to, learn and grow along the way.
And that brings me back to something you mentioned earlier about the inner compass having a whole episode dedicated to self-compassion.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's like a must listen for anyone on this path. Because let's be real, turning purpose into action, it isn't always easy.
Right.
There will be days when you feel discouraged, days when you question everything.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in self-doubt, especially when things aren't moving as quickly as you want them to.
And that's where self-compassion becomes such a valuable tool. It's about recognizing that we're all human, we all make mistakes, and those mistakes don't define us.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be imperfect, to stumble and get back up again.
Exactly. And, the more I think about it, the more I realize that self-compassion is actually the foundation for everything we've talked about today.
Oh, I like that. Tell me more.
Well, think about it. If you're constantly beating yourself up for every little setback, how likely are you to stay motivated and keep taking action?
Yeah, probably not very. You'd probably just give up.
Exactly. But when you approach this journey with self-compassion, when you're able to forgive yourself for those inevitable missteps, it creates this sense of resilience.
It's like giving yourself permission to be human. And that, in turn, frees you up to keep moving forward.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that this is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And that it's okay to take things one step at a time.
And to celebrate those steps along the way, no matter how small they may seem.
Exactly. Every act of courage, every moment of alignment with your purpose is a victory worth celebrating.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay, what's that?
Remember that question we posed earlier, the one about what's one small step you can take this week to move closer to your purpose?
Ah, yes. That's the real call to action.
I want you to really sit with that question. Don't just think about it. Write it down, brainstorm some ideas, and then pick one small step you can commit to.
And remember, small steps lead to big changes. It's about consistency. It's about resilience. And it's about believing in yourself and the power of your purpose.
And never underestimate the impact you can have on the world. even with the smallest of actions.
So keep seeking, keep striving, and keep shining your light. You've got this.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into turning purpose into action. Until next time.